South Korea has reported 3 new COVID-19 deaths in just 24 hours. The country's death toll is now 11. The latest fatality is a 35-year-old Mongolian man, the first foreigner to die from the virus.
The number of new infections also continues to rise. It now stands at about 1,000. South Korea's President Moon Jae-in has set this week as a deadline to find a clear turning point in the fight against the outbreak.
Mr. Moon has visited the southern city of Daegu, where most of the country's infections can be found. He's described the situation as very grave, but has stopped short of declaring the city a special disaster zone. Mr. Moon has also vowed to give enough financial support to ensure effective quarantine measures.
정부는 범국가적 역량을 모아 대구 경북과 함께 바이러스와의 싸움에서 반드시 승리하겠습니다. 정부는 군과 경찰까지 투입하고 민간 의료 인력의 지원을 포함하여 범국가적인 총력 지원 체제를 가동했습니다. 코로나19의 지역 내 확산과 지역 외 확산을 반드시 막아야 합니다.
Bruce Harrison joins us now from Seoul. Bruce, we know the first foreigner has died in South Korea. What does this mean for South Korea then?
Linda and Steve, it's worth explaining a bit about this patient who did die today at a hospital outside of Seoul in Gyeonggi province. The 35-year-old Mongolian man you mentioned, he had traveled here for a liver transplant, according to the local hospital. So there was some pre-existing conditions, some underlying illnesses at the time of his death. He did test positive for COVID-19, and the hospital now is seeking answers to exactly why he died and whether COVID-19 was a complication. Obviously a tragic situation, but as far as the rest of the world views South Korea, concerns growing because of the spread throughout the country, I think they're more looking in the southeast, and they're seeing what's happening in Daegu and North Gyeongsang province. The United States, for example, just today said that it's raising its travel alert level to South Korea. It's encouraging all Americans to avoid the Korean Peninsula unless it's essential travel. So all non-essential travel should be avoided if possible. There's several other countries as well that have banned Koreans and foreigners like myself who have traveled through South Korea from entering those countries. That includes Israel, for one. So beyond this man's death, like I said, which is tragic and does raise concerns, there were underlying causes. The hospital is still trying to determine the exact cause of death. And when it comes to other countries' concerns about Korea, I think it really comes down to the numbers we're seeing, nearly 1,000 total cases in the country right now.
Well, Bruce, President Moon Jae-in has given until the end of this week to find what he says a clear turning point in the fight against the outbreak. Well, what does he mean by that? Do you have any details?
Steve, it was just last week, February 18th, when there was, roughly 31 cases in South Korea. Fast forward a week, and now we have nearly 1,000. It's been a very tumultuous 7 days. And within that time, the government has taken certain steps. Number one, Daegu has encouraged all of its citizens to stay indoors. They've shut down schools. They've shut down businesses. People are working at home. Other reactions have taken place, whether it's disinfecting different markets, public squares in that city and around North Gyeongsang province. So the initial response, President Moon Jae-in wondering what the impact of that will be. Another key point of his attack on the coronavirus in this, critical period is testing all the members of that church where the disease spread quite quickly after one member became contaminated. They've gotten a list of the entire 200,000 plus member congregation throughout the country. They're going to try and test everybody. I think Moon believes that will ease public anxiety if it's known that those people have been tested, and then he can go from there. It's really a critical point time this week to see if, the disease, the spread begins to slow or continues to increase within the next several days. That's what the government's watching right now. Moon hopes his initial efforts nip it in the bud, but we'll have to see.
All right, many thanks for that update. Bruce Harrison speaking to us from Seoul.